Hiring cooks for a restaurant can drive an owner or manager crazy. Finding people with experience is hard enough, but finding people to be able to back up their employment claims is like finding the proverbial needle in the haystack. Hiring without experience is even harder. As we all know, it takes a special type of personality to succeed in a restaurant kitchen as a cook. I'm Matt Roberts of Restaurant Ninjas, and today I'm going to give you my advice on how to hire cooks that can actually do the job. Hey everybody, welcome back to Restaurant Ninjas, where I help you run your restaurant and not let your restaurant run you. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome. On this channel, I talk all about restaurant operations and leadership. So if you are in restaurant management of any level, this channel is definitely for you. If you're a manager or a leader in any other business, 75% of the time, this channel will apply to you as well. So make sure both of you guys go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want to get more content, and hit that little bell. And every time I upload a new video, which is every week, you're going to get a notification that a new video is up. If you're watching this video, it's because you either can't find good cooks or you have a bunch of cooks that you want to replace. I've been there. I know how difficult it is to fill this position. So how exactly do we go ahead and fix this problem and be able to hire cooks that can do the job and stick around? Well, I like to look at the hiring process itself as being like a funnel. The top of the funnel, the big part, that's where the applications are received, that's the beginning, and then it ends with successful long-term cook. Before we can really look at that funnel though, we have to really look at the current situation holistically. Specifically, why are you in this situation? Odds are it's because you can't keep cooks. Now, cooks are always going to be difficult to find, and cooks are always going to be difficult to keep. They're going to jump from place to place. It's just the nature of the business and the nature of the worker. But if you don't at least plug that leaky hole to a certain level, you're never going to be able to figure out your cook situation, and you're always going to be trying to figure out, why don't I have any cooks? So that's going to be the first thing we talk about here. So how do we start plugging this hole? Well, let's look at the reasons why cooks, and most employees honestly, quit. Number one, they're underpaid. They're doing a job that is really, really hard, and they're probably not making that much. There's a direct correlation between turnover and pay. If you're having a hard time stomaching how you're going to be able to afford paying someone a higher salary, go ahead and sit down and tally up how much time and money you spend recruiting, hiring, training for every person you turn over, and you can probably afford to pay a heck of a lot more than you could possibly imagine when you actually factor that in. The second reason cooks leave is because they're overworked. Now the job's hard. I'm saying let's not do stupid things like schedule them to close one night and then open the next day. Let's not ask them to work 2 stations while the manager sits in the office. Let's be fair and realistic in how we work them. Just talked about managers sitting in the office. That's the other reason cooks often leave, is because they have a bad boss or a bad manager. Is your manager, or are you, a bad boss? And the other major reason you lose cooks is because they're undertrained initially, or they're underdeveloped and they've lost a challenge and they need that challenge and they feel like they're stagnant. So if we can really address all 5 of these issues, I think that you're gonna find that that hole in the bottom of your funnel where your cooks are going suddenly becomes a trickle. And that's what we're looking for. We're not ever gonna fix it, but we wanna reduce it continually. All right, now that we have plugged the hole, so to speak, let's talk about the cook hiring funnel. Now, the reason this is a funnel and the reason it's so big at top is because we wanna cast a wide net. We wanna get as many applicants as humanly possible. I don't even care if they're all good applicants, because if we get one great applicant by casting a wider net, it's worth it. We only want the best, so cast a wide net. I mean, after all, the math does indicate that to increase the output, more good cooks, you have to increase the input, more applications. It's kind of common sense. So how do you increase applications? Well, you advertise everywhere. I literally mean everywhere. So Indeed is great, but don't just rely on them. Snag-a-Job is really good for hourly employees. Craigslist is probably still the best in my opinion, followed by Facebook. Get on Facebook groups in your local area and advertise on there. You might have to talk to the admins first and ask if it's okay, but that's where the people are. So get on places where your employees are. In the past, I've had a lot of luck creating specific pages on Facebook specifically for my restaurant as a recruiting page only, and all its job was recruiting. So I joined groups as that page and I would recruit, and it worked really, really well. Which brings me to my next tip, which is use their language. If you use the language they talk, it's gonna be easier. One of the reasons job ads are not effective is because they don't talk very well. So for example, a lot of fast casual restaurants will just hire one position, restaurant associate. They'll advertise for that, and they'll advertise for each potential job they might be working in, when in reality, they're gonna decide where they put them when they come in a lot of these places. Instead, advertise for specific jobs: dishwasher, salad maker, fry cook, broil cook, and you're gonna see a more targeted Use their language, talk about what makes the job fun. Ask your employees, hey, how would you write a job ad that appeals to you, and have them help you. Target a bracket below your current base. So if you're running a fine dining restaurant, go after casual dining cooks, get their best cooks, and train them up to be your cooks. If you're running a casual dining restaurant, go after fast food cooks. They've already learned that they like the industry. They've already learned that they can do the job. If they can flip a burger at McDonald's and they're good at it, odds are you can train them to be adequate in your restaurant as well. And over time, adequate to great. If you really want to increase your applicant flow, make your application so simple that all they have to do is hit a button, put in their contact info and their availability, and hit apply. Then when they come in, have them fill out a deeper application that talks about job history, education, experience, salary history, all that stuff. Odds are you're going to get a lot more people who apply because it's easier. And again, wider net. Higher input, higher output. Going along with this, on-the-spot interviews, man. On-the-spot interviews are the way to go. If someone walks in and says, hey, are you hiring? Say, yes, we are. Would you like to take a seat and talk? Talk to them, have them fill out an application. Heck, if you have another manager there, have them talk to them. Think about it like this. I used to be a huge fan of the 2-interview process and scheduling them on separate days to see if they actually showed up. And I thought that was the way to go. But then an area director said to me, hey, listen, Matt, you watch sports. If a star free agent goes into town for a visit and does an interview with them and they want him, they don't let him leave town without a contract. They'll try everything they can to keep him from getting on that plane until he signs a dotted line. That's the way to do it nowadays also in restaurants and in any business. If you want them and you're sure you're gonna hire them, don't let them walk out the door without offering them a job, because they might go to another interview and take that job and they might want your job more, but they're gonna go with the sure thing first. The next piece of the puzzle is hiring. So 2 interview minimum. That doesn't mean 2 days, as I just mentioned, it means 2 separate people getting the opinion of them. Use an interview guide. That way you can look back on from questions from the first interview to the second to see how they changed. If you're gonna get one thing out of the video, here it is, and this is my biggest ninja tip, a job preview. Have them work for you for 1 day. So pre-work wise, you need to work this out with your lawyer and your insurance company and your payroll company to figure out a way to pay them for 1 day. Have them work 1 day. Hire them for 1 day, and it's a job preview. If it goes well, you can offer them a permanent position. If not, then you don't. Have a contract, have it all done and spelled out legally first. Once you get the legal stuff figured out, have them come in and work a day. We've all been there, right? You hire somebody and they're like, yeah, I worked for 10 years at Longhorn Steakhouse. I'm the best grill cook there is. Then you get them in and they can't even cook a steak to temp, let alone 50. So if you can cook a steak in one restaurant, you can cook a steak in all restaurants. So once they learn where everything is, which takes about 5 minutes, have them work a shift on the broiler. See if they can handle it. See how their cooking goes. See if they can actually cook everything at the proper temps. See if they can handle a multiple amount of steaks on the grill at once. You can use this to base your offer too. So if they're good but not great, factor that into what you're gonna pay them. This job preview thing has been just a godsend to me. If you can do it and you can figure out a way to do it legally within your company, it's the best thing you can possibly do. Hey Matt, what if you can't do that? What if you work in a corporate restaurant and they don't let you sign a 1-day contract and pay them for 1 day? Well, you do the next best thing, which is just a preview. You have them come in unpaid, you have them sign a paper saying they're not getting paid, and you don't let them work. So this is not nearly as good, but you can watch their facial expression, you can watch how they interact with employees, the questions they ask, you can ask them questions on the spot, like, hey, what kind of steak is that? What kind of meat is that? Hey, how do you tell for a medium steak? How do you tell for a medium rare? What's a temp supposed to be? If it's on fry, hey, how long does it usually take a chicken wing to cook? If it's on salads, hey, how do you usually toss your salads? How do you make a Greek salad? What do you put in a Caesar salad? They should be able to answer these questions. So again, not nearly as useful as the full-on job preview, but still very useful. The next part of hiring great cooks is onboarding them properly, and this is the part that is usually messed up and forgotten and not given enough attention. I always believe that the person who onboards a new employee should be the highest ranked person in the restaurant. So general manager, you should onboard every new employee. Onboarding should include paperwork, it should include a detailed dive into policies, attendance, expectations, training, how training is going to work, going over what the training program is going to look like. All of this eases their mind and starts them on the right foot and leads them into training. Listen, even experienced cooks don't know your recipes. Sure, they can come in and cook a steak or work a fryer, but they're not gonna know the recipes if you throw them on saute. So start at the very beginning. Have a defined training program that starts assuming they know nothing. Now, if they come in and they know a lot and they seem like they're picking it up really quickly, then don't stick to the training plan and go a little bit quicker. I mean, stick to it, just go quicker. I don't just suggest, I really highly recommend that you have a written out training plan for each position with a validation form at the end that's filled out and validating that they can do the job. All right, we've talked about how to get more applications. We've talked about how to hire them. We've talked about how to onboard them. We've talked about how to train them. Let's talk about how to retain them. 1, pay above market. Simple as that. 2, build a relationship. The best way to do this is to have regular conversations. I like to sit down with each employee once a quarter at a bare minimum. For key employees like cooks, once a month, once a week for your full-time guys. This way you can ensure they're happy and you can talk about things like career path. Do they want to move up? What do they see in their future? Do you need to challenge them more? Maybe you can have them take on some ordering. Maybe they can do the produce or the dairy order for you. Maybe they can be in charge of running part of the shift. Maybe they can learn to expo. Maybe they can cross-train. These are the things you find out when you sit down and do one-on-ones with people. And don't laugh this one off, but encourage work-life balance. A lot of people are fine working 90 hours a week. Most people aren't. So encourage them to take their days off and actually enjoy them with their family and friends, doing whatever they need. Just they need to recharge their batteries. If you burn them out and call them every day they're off, they're eventually going to get burned out and quit, even though they're the ones saying, yeah, I can come in every time you call them. Hope these tips are helpful. If you want me to expand on anything, hit me in the comments below and I'll definitely get back to you. And if you have any other tips to add, put them down in the comments so that other people can see them. Till next time, guys, remember, it's a beautiful day to be alive. Later.